Big crowd today.
Well, Cody, welcome back, man. I guess, in the grand scheme of things, 11 months isn't really that long, but it just seems like you went through a whole lot over the course of 11 months. So I guess right now, how does it feel to be back on a fight week getting ready to compete?
Excited. I still have the same feelings that I had last June, just excited, motivated, and hungry to, take this opportunity that I prepared so hard with my team, my coaches, just go out there and finally be here in fight week. We're 3-4 days away from fighting. Like you said, been through a lot. COVID definitely took a toll on my body and took me away from a flyweight title shot. A lot of opportunities, but I take it with a grain of salt. I'm thankful for my health. I'm thankful to be here. It showed me a lot. Life is a marathon, not a sprint. So,
can you talk about the COVID experience, right? Because here you are, like a phenomenal athlete in prime shape, and we hear it's not supposed to affect people like that. What was it like for you, knowing it's kind of like this invisible thing, right? Like, I guess an injury is probably easier to deal with. What the hell was this like?
Yeah, speaking with my coaches and other media and UFC personnel this week, I was like, it was frustrating. Like injuries, you can kind of have a timeline of, all right, you're 4 to 6 weeks out from, getting back to stuff. Like I didn't know with COVID, I didn't know. Like it was basically by day that my body strand could do, what else happened. I was on blood thinners, I had pneumonia, I had vertigo. Vertigo was horrible, and the blood clots as well. I was on blood thinners, like I said, for like 4 months. So like I said, it's almost easier to have an injury than having COVID. And I always took COVID serious. If I, obviously people are dying from it, but like I said, I take care of myself. I'm healthy. I rest, I recover, I eat well. Very well conditioned. I thought that if I had it, it'd be like a flu bug kind of. Man, it was not a flu bug for me. It was intense, but I think everything happens for a reason. There's a reason why things were removed from my life. Let me focus on other things. And like I said, just 11 months of it wasn't like I was sitting on the couch, laid up. I was training. I was doing things that I couldn't do. If I wasn't able to do martial arts, then I was, jumping on the cycling bike, riding, 50 to 100 miles a day, getting the conditioning up. So I was able to, really, really expand my cardiovascular, load, through that. So I was always training. Like I felt like I never missed a beat when I came right back to the gym. Everything felt good. The movement, the speed, the power, the vision. I just feel like this is the most complete martial artist that I'll be stepping inside this cage on Saturday.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you try to keep things as positive as possible. I just wondered what this time was like for you mentally, because you think about the setbacks you had, and then you get the great comeback, and everything's going good again. Now it's like, how much do I have to go through in life? Like, how much do I have to deal with? I mean, was there any time during this stretch that you got down? Like, why do I have the worst luck ever?
Balance. Just figuring out balance in life, with career, life. Life throws things at you, like all of us. We're going through this pandemic, and people are losing loved ones and losing jobs, and I just was counting my blessings. I had my son's healthy. I still have a roof over my head. I have a job that's, will be there when I'm healthy. And a lot of opportunity. It could be worse. I could be coming off a knockout loss or a loss, and then have to deal with that shit again. You know what I mean? I was like, well, I've been through worse. I could say, a 3-fight skid is, this is pretty bad to come over. But I think that learning and growing process of going through that in my career, in my life, and where I was at, helped me just mentally to understand and cope with it, not get myself down about, losing opportunity to fight for a world title, because it's right there. I'm right there. I just gotta stay focused and stay hungry and get healthy first off. And those opportunities will present itself. I'm on the right path. I kept telling myself I'm on the right path. I'm doing what I need to do. I'm showing up every day, putting those small deposits in for the big deposit on Saturday.
Speaking like a mature man, does it feel like you're growing up at this point?
I'm about to be 30, man. I got some white hairs in my beard and shit.
That's awesome. Talk about watching the title fight that you were supposed to be in, right? What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, you know what? That was actually a cool experience to watch. That you got to see those guys, and Davison showed a lot of holes, and Moreno showed a lot of things that exploited his weaknesses. The wrestling. I think the strikes on the brakes with Figgy's having his hands down was a huge thing. And pressure on that wrestling, the takedowns. Obviously, the low blow. I called that. I said it was going to be a majority draw because of that. I think that if Moreno had, more pop in his punch, he could, get Davison hurt and take him out. And I think if Davison didn't cut as much weight, wasn't as fatigued, in those rounds, he could have, had more, pop on his punch to take Moreno out. Nonetheless, it was a great fight. I'm excited to, hopefully, have an entanglement with one of those guys in the future. But first and foremost, we're focused on Rob. It's a great opportunity for me in my career to showcase, my skills against Rob.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you about that. I mean, 35 now, which I think you had said, look, I'll go to 25 for a title, but I don't really want to do it for non-title. But is that still the path? Like, hey, I'll take 35 as long as you need me to, but really I want that 25 title?
I'm looking at being, two-time weight division champion. That's my goals. So whatever comes first, I know we have kind of a little circus act up front with Aljamain and Jan. They have to run that back. Aljamain just had neck surgery, so that's going to be prolonged for a little bit. I feel like this fight right here is a title eliminator. So, I finish Rob on Saturday. I have options. I have options to go at bantamweight, be next in line for that. It works out perfectly for me. It's you look back in November and reason COVID and things were taken away from my life, but it set me up for better and more opportunities. I stayed on the path, stayed focused, and stayed driven. So I know I win this fight Saturday. I can have next in line for a bantamweight title shot, and Figgy and them fight a few weeks after me. I was already training for a 5-round fight. They were training for a 5-round fight. Hopefully none of us get injured in there. We come out unscathed, and we can make that fight happen, sooner than later. And that's in a perfect world, but a lot of things kind of fall into place with that.
Yeah, but hey, you could conceivably end the year as a two-division champion.
Could possibly, could possibly.
All right. Talk about the matchup with Rob. As you said, title eliminator. I mean, he's here for a reason, right? What do you think of his skill set and what he brings to the table?
I feel like, being top 5 in the world, you're skilled, you're tough, you're talented, you deserve to be there. You worked your way up there. I just feel like he's never been in a high prolific fight. He's never been in a main event exposure, never been in a 5-round fight. I have. I feel like he has a lot of boxes that need to be checked personally for him, and I was in that position years ago. And you have to just rise to the occasion. So we'll see how bad Rob wants this fight, how bad Rob wants to stay at the top of the division, because I know this is where I belong. I've been at the top, been a world champion, fell back down, picked myself up numerous times, and dusted myself off and continued to climb up to where I'm at now. And it's it's a lot. It's a lot being in the main event in a high prolific fight, and you're facing Cody Garbrandt. You're not facing Marlon Moraes. You're not facing a Ricky Simone. You're not facing a Sergio Pettis. You're facing a hungry Cody Garbrandt that's ready to get back to his throne.
I like it. Last thing for me, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen you in a boring fight, so I don't think that's a concern. But do you feel like, you're going out there, because of all the things that are on the table, right, all the options, do you feel like you got to go out there and, like, prove something or do something special, or is that just kind of what happens when you're executing?
Honestly, I feel like I've proved myself time and time again, and it's always good to remind people, who you are. And so however the fight presents itself, whatever Rob wants to bring out and do, my preparation for this fight camp was very uncomfortable, because I know what it's like to be in a 25-minute fight and pushing the pace, So I put myself in uncomfortable positions inside training camp this whole camp, things I didn't want to do, things I got back to the roots of, what made me who I am today, and just had a great camp. I mean, I couldn't be more thankful for the camp and how it fell into place, and just the game plan that we have and the preparation. I mean, the preparation was second to none. I don't think that I can look back on a fight to see that I trained this hard or smart and physically, emotionally, and mentally prepared myself to go in there and, if needed to be, a 25-minute, pace that my adversary in Rob Font will not be able to withstand.
Not to focus too much on COVID and how it's affected you, but are you worried about any long-term effects that maybe we aren't aware of yet?
Honestly, I feel like I probably had that in my mind when I was going through the COVID experience and the symptoms and the struggles that I was going through. But I kind of put that in the back of my mind. I feel like I had a great doctor that, has a lot of resources that, we were checking a lot of things out, bi-weekly, to make sure that my body could withstand, the trauma that goes inside a fight camp. We literally go in and beat the shit out of each other every single day, multiple times a day for 8 to 10 weeks straight to come inside a cage to fight, to, better our life. So I first and foremost needed to know that my body can withstand that kind of stress level that I was going to put on to be able to go and put on a 5-round performance. So I just kind of put that into my mind. I feel like I'm healthier than I've ever been. And going through that, like I've never taken my health for granted, especially with the kidney infection that I had prior to 2020. That landed me in the hospital, and leading up to the Sun South fight, the infection came back 10 days before, so I had to go to a IV fusion center and get an antibiotic drip 10 days leading up to the fight. So I've been here before. I've been with some health concerns, and just know that my body, regenerates pretty well. I'm young. I take care of myself. I'm not out partying, drinking, or, doing, heavy drugs on the weekend. That's not me. I think that, down the road maybe, but as right now, I'm healthy. I feel great. I'm confident. Like I said, I haven't prepared like this probably since even. I don't think I've ever prepared for a fight like this, even with the Cruz fight. The Cruz fight was probably a very, very vigorous training, hard training, and stylistically it was just a different matchup for me. But this is the hardest that I prepared in preparation for a fight, because this is a huge opportunity. I've been here before and it slipped out of my hands. And I know with what a win comes, and I'm prepared for that, and very excited for that as well.
I was wondering if you had reached 100% after getting sick, but it sounds like you said you've never been in better shape in your life.
Yeah, I've never been able to push myself. Well, I've been able to push myself to this limit, but I literally every day in training push myself to the breaking point, try to break myself inside there. And I think that's what, I'm not fighting my adversaries, I'm fighting myself, within myself. If I'm able to defeat myself, defeat my demons, be at peace with myself, once I go inside that octagon, there's not a man that can break me, because I've already tried to break myself time and time again throughout the camp, throughout my life, and here I am still standing and hungry to fight, and a huge opportunity in front of me.
So how long did it take for you to feel like you were at 100% after being sick?
Man, it took, I would say 6 to 8 months of like finally feeling myself. So yeah, it wasn't like till, we landed the fight right before. I was like, I did like a 3-week mini camp where I was like really stressing my body, doing this like basically a mini camp of camp to get, tip-top shape before the fight camp, kind of unraveled. And that's when I knew like that my stress level was high. My body was reacting well. I was recovering well. I used the Whoop app and the Aura app, Aura Ring, to monitor my sleep, my HRV, my resting heart rate, and having those kind of data and technology to see what kind of strain that you're going through, how your body's recovering, was a huge tool. The last 10, 11 months that I've got on the Whoop and Aura, so those are great data to have, with sleep, recovery, the strain that you're training at. So I feel like those are huge tools to use.
So you said you never pushed yourself as hard as you did have going into this camp. Is that because you're looking at because you've been at the top before? Is it because you're making another run, but not just at 1 belt, but 2 belts? Yeah,
I feel like pushing myself like this in preparation for this fight was, it didn't feel like this is what needed to be done. This is what literally I woke up every day to do. Like, all right, I'm going to go break myself. All right, this is what we're going to go do. This is what, we're going to put these small deposits in daily for the big deposit on Saturday. And that's what we kept saying. These are small deposits, man, small deposits. It was horrible. It was I'm most uncomfortable I've ever been inside training, mentally, physically, emotionally. And that's how for me, I have to be able to defeat myself going in there. And if I don't do that, you'll see an emotional fighter that just doesn't really give a shit about anything, that goes in there and fights recklessly with no aim, But my purpose is to be the best in the world, and I battled my demons time and time again, and I prepared very well for this fight, and I'm at peace with myself. I'm excited. I've had a smile on my face since I got to fight week. Just to be able to there's a time in my life that I didn't want to do media, that wasn't enjoyable to speak to or talk about fighting, because my heart and passion was not in fighting. I was so taken away from fighting and everything about it. I feel like I was even going in the gym just clocking in and clocking out. You know, it felt like a job to me. And this is something I love to do. I feel like this is what I was put on this earth to do. And I think every time that I try to fight that battle of drifting away from fighting, that stuff happens to me. So just knowing that this is what I was set out to do, it comes a lot easier. It's a lot easier waking up at 4 or 5 in the morning and going and putting yourself in a freezing cold pool, or a cycling ride that's, it's 30-some degrees out, freezing your ass off. Putting the extra work in, it makes you hungry, it makes you appreciate it.
So did you feel this when you were at the top of your game, or what was the catalyst that made you change?
I feel like honestly winning the title kind of just made me, it wasn't what I thought it would be, and I didn't feel fulfilled with being a world champion. I thought it was going to be more than, I fixated on it for so long in my life, and it took me through a lot of my dark times to have that light at the end of the tunnel of being a world champion. And I did it. A lot of people around me are like, oh wow, it was exciting, it was this and that, but for me, I just didn't feel fulfilled. And now that I just know that I had to set my goals higher, and I have very, very high goals for myself, and I think that's what keeps me motivated. I don't even say motivated, because motivation comes and goes. You can be motivated on Monday, and by Tuesday that shit's gone. So I'm driven.
How much higher can you go than the belt?
Man, there's so much. I think being a world champion, so many doors open for you outside of fighting. You become a partner with the UFC. Defending the title. I've been there now. I want to, reclaim the title, defend the title. Do other things in life that I'm passionate about. I have a child that looks up to me, and I want to show him through no matter what. Life throws at you adversity, losses, setbacks. You can overcome it all. Just keep your dream alive, stay focused, stay driven, and stay positive about it, because it's not always going to be the highest of highs, and just like it's not always going to be the lowest of lows. And I think truly finding that balance in life is what helped me understand that just to enjoy this process.
So a lot of it's been what's been going on outside of the UFC, like becoming a father and like finding that balance.
Yeah, it's other shit. A lot of people probably forget that, we're humans as well. We have the same problems that arise when we wake up, The devil doesn't take a day off, He's always kind of put doubt into you, and, if your dreams and you're successful, then it gets harder, because then you have more things to do and to focus on, So, we have the same feelings that they do. I think that some people think that we're different because they see us on TV, or we're this self-proclaimed world champion. We're still humans at the end of the day. We still tie our shoes, the same way. And
you still clean diapers?
Yeah, man. We're potty training our son right now. He's doing pretty well on it, but we gotta give him incentives. Like, we took candy away from him, but we give him gum, so he's like, he gets excited, So I'm still changing diapers, but he's getting it, man. He's getting it. He's doing pretty well, a couple times, it's fun, man. Honestly, that's probably like the best title that I ever held, was being a father. And Kai is such a blessing in my life, and I just want to showcase to him like what hard work and having a dream and never giving up on can do for you in life. If it's whatever he set out to do, just to have that dream and be driven and love every day of your life, and know it's a process. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You'll get there eventually.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Welcome back, champ.
Thank you, buddy.
The beard looks good, by the way.
Dude, the war beard. I can't wait to cut this thing off. It is. Okay.
Is it just for camp? You're not going to keep it?
Yeah. I just do. I grew it out of camp. Last time I did the hair and the beard, and it was just too much, man.
You grew that just in camp?
Just in camp.
Damn,
yeah.
that's strong.
6 weeks, yeah. 6 weeks, yeah.
That's a man's beard right there.
That's a man's beard, yeah. It's tough.
So one of the things, and this is the last one, then we'll dump the COVID stuff. A lot of people say that one of the things that mostly affected them is the lung area, but you said in this training that you were able to push yourself cardio-wise further than you've ever been. So obviously that wasn't an area where you were affected?
It was actually funny that they bring that up. Yeah, I had pneumonia, and not knowing I had COVID through this whole process, going, I just felt like I was literally in fight camp fighting for a world title. I was like, this is the grind. This is what happens. No excuses. Put the work in, And I started cycling, road cycling. Actually, Vinny Murdoch, who's actually out here on the Ultimate Fighter right now, had a brain. It's Moya, Moya. Had to have like a brain surgery. So his doctor said he had to do, to help, what would help him heal better would to be, doing cardio. Well, I don't like to run. I'm not a big, cycling's cool. You can go a lot of places cycling. Where we're at in Sacramento, American River Trail, there's a lot of bike paths and trails. So I got started cycling, and that's what my doctor said was like, as much as I'm cycling, and we were doing, 100-mile rides.
Wow.
We were putting the work in, it was, 5-6 hours of just nonstop, just grinding on that bike. And that's all I could really do because I had vertigo. So I couldn't really do much MMA. I could do a little bit of it until I started having the onsets of the vertigo and the spins. So the bike, I was just there and just pedaling the legs and the heart and the lungs. And that's what he said, like I was able to keep my lungs so open that during that, like a lot of people that had pneumonia like I had it would have been hospitalized on a ventilator. He goes, and the crazy thing is that we were cycling, but we had the cow fires. The smoke index was so heavy. Yeah. So I just thought it was because we were out there riding, an index of 400 sometimes. We try to get up in the morning, 5-6 in the morning, and go before the smoke rolled in. So I just thought that's why I was having like the wheezing and the shortness of breath from the air quality in Sacramento during that time. So it was just like then I tested positive for COVID, and I was like, oh man, that should make sense why I felt like this. I'm like, man, I wasn't trying to, Danny, she always says, like when I get a flu or something, like I'm a big baby about it. So I wasn't trying to complain about it, but man, I was hurting. This shit hurt. I didn't want to complain about shit. And then I had COVID, and I looked back, and I was like, wow, okay, yeah. A couple times, man, there were some nights that I was like really, really in pain with it. Like it really took its toll. But then again, I was training for a world title, so I didn't want to take any time off, and I was just so frustrated, like, why would, what was going on? And obviously testing positive for COVID, understanding like, all right, well, it's COVID, and this is a virus that's in my body that's affected it so, so greatly that I have to, take the measures of getting healthy.
How much, and I think you touched on a little bit, putting in the fact that you dealt with some real life or death sort of stuff dealing with COVID, and then you have the fatherhood and stuff, and now you're talking about how focused that you are. Are you able to cherish the fact that you're able to keep pushing yourself and go back into these experiences, having to deal with all this other stuff? And does it make it a little easier, and do you enjoy it more now, knowing what you've just recently went through?
I look at it like this. If you want to stay back on having 3 losses, being a world champion, have 3 losses in a row, then obviously the COVID, getting removed from a title fight, if those are the worst things that happened in my life, then I live a pretty blessed life. I'm very grateful that my son's healthy, he's smart, he's growing, he's so full of life. If those are the worst things that happened to me in my life, then I live a pretty good life. I mean, there's so many people in the world that are so less fortunate with things, health, number one thing, disabilities, anything like that, deaths from COVID. So I just got to count my blessings, like understand like there's people that have it way worse than I do. I've been in positions where I've had way less in my life to where I am at now. Like, all right, I was a world champion, I lost a fight. Okay, I remember being an amateur, losing a fight, and not having, gas money to drive myself home. You know what I mean? So it was like you're in the positions in your life that you kind of put you in perspective of what actually is important in life, and that's just being a good person, showing up. I have eyes on me. My son looks up to me so much, so I can't fail him ever. You know what I mean? I might lose fights here and there, but failing for me would be giving up giving up on my dream and selling out on something else, and that's something I'll never do.
Thank you for that. I just got a couple more. I appreciate your time. Looking back on his opponent, his fight against Marlon Moraes, were you impressed with his performance?
Obviously, I think Marlon Moraes is a great fighter, but I think he's been on a downslide. For whatever reason, I think some of us go through that. He's been on a downside. Has been the Marlon Moraes that, came into the UFC and started doing really well. Was prior into the UFC with other organization. And the thing, I wasn't too impressed with that. I mean, Marlon took him down. When's the last time you ever seen Marlon take someone down early on in the fight? He held him down. He got up, his arms were fatigued. If you look in the fight, he shakes his arms out and then gets hit with the jab. Then he tries to reset, gets hit with another jab. And by that time, his arms were fatigued. And Rob, took advantage of that. Rob's a fighter that comes out, kind of gets aggressive in your face. And so you got to match that aggression. You got to match that pace. And that's something that if he wants to come out every round and get in my face, he's going to be in for a long night. So I wasn't too impressed with that. Good win on Rob, taking out Marias. He was a title challenger, a very good fighter, but I don't think that Marlon has been the same fighter since leaving Jersey, and actually, honestly, since his loss to Henry Cejudo. I don't think that he's been the same.
And then last thing, give you a little chance. How's the No Love Bullies doing? And is it great to have that as outside, having a passion and a business on the outside of this?
Yeah, the passion for bullies and pit bulls have been my whole life. I've had pit bulls, and they're such a misunderstood breed. I bought my first dog because I wanted my son to grow up and have a dog and have a companion. And the American Bully, Canelo, is who I got him from, or who I named him. Just such a great dog, man. Such a great family dog. I never thought I would get into breeding, but I actually bought a few other dogs after that to have, and I was kind of ripped off and kind of saw how the dog breeding industry is, and I was the dogs come first. They're the most awesome breed. They're family, and that's what they're treated are. So I got a bunch of them, and I never thought I was going to breed, but I got taken over by some breeders that were did bad business. So we got into it and we wanted to be, first off, good faith breeders, ethical and morals, and kind of change the game almost. We health test all of our dogs, make sure the puppies are healthy before they go to someone's family. That's the last thing. If someone spends hard-earned money on a puppy and then the dog's not healthy and they have all these vet bills, that's I've lost a lot of dogs from that. And so the passion's good. We do it at my mom's facility in Ohio. My brother works there for him as well, and it's great, man. Being able to give some of those families, adding to the families and how happy and excited they are. If they lose a dog or if they can't have children, they come, and we're adding to their family. So, and I have the platform to be able to, showcase that not all dog breeders are horrible. Anyone can come out to our facility, check out how our dogs live. They're treated like, family. So I wanted to first and foremost go inside the dog breeding industry, change that, because there's some horrible dog breeders out there that I would love to get in the cage and beat the shit out of them, to be honest. But you can't do that in this world. But yeah, no, first and foremost, what you're able to add to people's families. So we're doing well, man. It's doing well. I just started having my first couple of breedings. I kept one of the dogs at my home in Ohio. So yeah, those dogs got me through some of my darkest times too. A dog is spelled God backwards. So there's a reason for that.
They're absolutely beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
Boy, they're super, super impressive.
Hey, hopefully Dana will let me one day walk my dog out to the cage. That'd be pretty cool, huh?
You get that bell, he can't stop you, right?
Right, yeah. Let's go. I'm getting two of them. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.